Today, guys, let's talk about something quite different. We have been on this series talking about what differentiating between React Native in terms of adding images. If you look at the previous video I made about how you add images to your React vis-a-vis your React Native, as well as the previous video how we talk about components in React as they differ from React Native. But today we are looking at it from a different perspective. Styling, how you style your React versus how you style your React Native. And looking at that, we are going to look through this concept in terms of inline styling, or whether you are using external .css files, or if you are adding styles using a JS library such as Tailwind CSS. But before I continue, I will encourage you, please like this video, subscribe to the channel and comment so that other people can see it and it can also help them. So back to what we are discussing here. In React, we have basically 3 ways you can add your styles. Like I mentioned earlier, you can add it using inline CSS. You can add an external .css files to your React, as well as you can use what we call a library, which is the Tailwind CSS, as I've demonstrated on the board here. But when we talk about React Native, it's a different concept altogether, because looking at what I have here, React Native do not use CSS in styling. It looks like CSS, a lot of people will agree, but it is not CSS. Rather, what we are adding in React Native is we are adding what we call built-in style sheet object to our React Native project, and that is what is going to add the styles, right? So here we can also add inline styles to our React Native project, just the same way we add inline styles to our React project. But the difference is that, which I'm going to demonstrate using this code versus what you have here, is that when you add styles in your React, you are going to define every property in those styles that you add. For example, if you look at this code, which we are looking at right now, I just have an h1 tag, then I have my style, had a basic color which is red and a font size of 24 pixels. But right here, you can see that I have to specify that I'm using the unit pixel. Of course, you can use RAM, you can use percentage in your unit when you are adding in your React. But if you look at what I have here in my React Native, just the same code but different pattern on different ways of doing it. Here, I basically add the font size, but I don't have to specify the pixels just as I specified in my React. Another concept you have to look at, like I'll give you a code comparison between what you have in your React versus React Native. Again, I'll have a code here, React, then I have another here for React Native. If you compare those codes, you are going to see that there is a basic difference in those styling. Also, to add a point that when you are working with React Native, every property have to be defined. But in React, you can have auto definition, like your padding. Some properties might be defined, like in your React Native, you have to specify every padding, margin. There is no auto adding of features in your React Native. Again, if you look at React, you discover that the text color and font can basically inherit from the parent. So you define in the parent property, the child element will be able to inherit some of those properties of the parent. But when you talk about React Native, there's a difference. The reverse is the case, because most styles do not inherit by default. So what you have, like Here you have pixels, and percentage. Like you can see here in React Native, you don't define using this unit, right? Only numbers are acceptable here. All right. And again, when you are dealing with React Native, another thing you have to keep in mind is that no CSS, you style directly in your JavaScript. I believe they understand this concept, because most people, they will mix it up and think that, okay, because it's CSS like, it's basically CSS. It is style sheet object in JavaScript. Now let's talk about list of what works in React but not in React Native. One, in your class name. Second, you have your CSS files. Third, ID or universal selector. Then you have your hover or focus. Then you have flesh wrap. Is actually limited when you are dealing with React Native. So these are most of the features that work in your React, but when you come to React Native, they do not work that way. So I believe that this video have helped you. Like, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.